Peace, this is Tareck Adeeb. It's time to go with the flow, bringing you a synopsis of the astrology for the week ahead. And, through a little bit of advice, I've been told to try shorten these and make them a little bit more concise. And, just to let you know, God willing, very soon the website will be created and there'll be more deeper astrological insights in my website, my community. So what will be amazing moving forward is that people who want to go more deeper into the astrology join the community, and there's going to be loads of resources about learning astrology too, as well as working with accessible astrology. But for now, for people who are not necessarily as astrologically adept, and people who just want to hear what's going on, I'm going to try sum this up as quickly as I can and make it hopefully easily and digestible. Now, I just want to make this comment as well. It's a very tenuous time because of all these retrogrades. Now, retrogrades very much means review, reflect, reassess, reorganize. So it's a very weird time right now because everything is in retrograde. I mean, Uranus goes retrograde today and Jupiter goes retrograde next week. The only planet that is direct right now is Mars. And Venus goes direct next week. Now, the thing is, what's amazing about these, when things seemingly go backwards and then go forward, is that there's what's called a shadow period as well. So really, just to sum it all up, it's when we get to October that everything is really going to make more sense. However, things are switching now because, again, Uranus in Taurus is very much to do with the change of Earth, i.e. the shift of the old system into the new system. And obviously when Pluto goes into Aquarius in January again, we're really going to shift into this AI, Web 3.0, exponential age, and it's all going to really move radically forward. I mean, Uranus will be going into Gemini in 2027 permanently. So again, what's happening now up until 2027 is very, very important. Pluto will be moving permanently into Aquarius next year, even though we'll have a little dip back into Capricorn. And all of that, what that means is the shift again into the old world, into the new. So think about 2008 when Pluto went into Capricorn and suddenly the whole world, the old world started to end. The only reason why the Western world didn't collapse or the old banking system didn't collapse was because they basically put a huge fake plug in the system, which everyone agreed to, because obviously the East couldn't compete or couldn't trade or supply the West, and that was what the whole model was based on. So, and maybe the integrity of the East as well was not to take over, even though, that might change soon. Because obviously, if you look at what's happening now, with this 2008 to now, Pluto and Capricorn, we're seeing the BRICS nations really, really emerge. It's prolific. I mean, 6 new countries have joined, and these are the huge oil countries. And now we're seeing that the BRICS nations is permanently or very clearly in the consciousness of people. It's not just a fake thing. And obviously the dollar, is under attack, or the Western world, or the old world. And if you want to go into the more, let's say, conspiracy ideas, the deep state, all of these things are starting to change. And it's like any empire. This is what the Pluto return of America was all about. It always happens. So, for example, the British Empire ended over a 220-year cycle, 220, 250. Likewise, the Roman empires. So whether America emerges into a new form, we'll have to see. Obviously, you're seeing the bizarreness of what's coming in America at the moment, especially when we're looking at the whole election for next year. So it's very uncertain still. These next 3 years are crucial and critical. But when we're looking at the now, and again, just remember, it's not like the dollar, I think, is going to just disappear overnight. I don't think, America has got a lot of military. So it's not like things are going to change just overnight. That's not how it works. However, if there is, let's say, a change in the world order, or there is an opportunity for crisis, then that's what we've got to really pay attention to right now, because it could easily happen in September and October. Now we're moving towards the eclipses in October. Often we see dramatic things change around the orb of the eclipse. So therefore, the eclipse on the 14th, I think it is, of October, around the 15th of September onwards, from the 15th all the way to the 15th of November, we could see a lot of change occurring. So we need to be prepared for that. So if things feel tiring right now, like I say, this is the difference. This is the difference of the people who are going to be on the exponential age, the people who are going to join Tareck Adeeb community, for example. because that's what's coming with Tareck Adeeb. It's really coming now. All the people that are just not in awareness. So there's nothing wrong with just keeping calm and carrying on and adapting to a new system. But I would like to think that people who are listening to this want to participate, want to be aware of the change and add to it. And then at least then you can sleep at night and say you've done the best that you can, or at least you have an awareness if you need to change something. If you need to move, for example. I mean, we've got time to do that over the next couple of years. But seriously, there's huge big alignments coming, in 2025, 2026. And, really, once we get to 27, 28, we've really shifted into a whole new world. Obviously, it follows through to 2030 to 2032. So we're in it now. We are the ones who will make the change, the difference. That's why I'm doing this. I mean, for example, this is the first time I've been able to do this live throughout the entire year, where I could actually prepare myself, see you all, and have a bit more of a strategy rather than just turning up and just, you could say, winging it or blagging it or flowing freestyle. This is the first time in the entire year. Now, that could easily make people think it's just not meant to be, with all the challenges that we face this year. For example, the website's still not out, and all these things were supposed to happen such a long time ago. But that's the difference between the people who are on the verge of exponential change and the people who are just going to give up now. So that is the difference. Persistence is everything. Belief, you've got to know why you're doing it. And show up, and with all the challenges, keep going. I mean, like last year was completely derailed for me last year. Sadly, I lost my mum, right? And dealing with that was really hard. And yet now, just before the equinox is key, September the 20th, I think it is, or the 22nd, I'm not sure. But that is key. Let me just double check actually. I'll have to look another time. Because that is the moment of change, like the equinoxes are so important. We're in Virgo season right now. We've got to be relaxed because everything's retrograde, as I said at the start of this video. So how do we manage to keep calm, relax, trust, when the whole world feels, like I keep talking about these cracks that seem to be around? It feels like that. When we haven't got where we thought we were going to get to, and yet still have the faith, belief that we're on time, that everything is perfect. We've got a full moon coming up in Pisces, and because Saturn's there, the delusion and like escapism, for example, like drugs, alcohol, whatever it may be, or just, checking out, even things like, pornography and stuff, these sorts of escapist kind of things. We're running out of time if it's an addiction, if it's unhealthy, if it's no longer serving, like celebration or whatever. These things exist for whatever reason. But if you're in a situation where, it's an addiction, that's what this Venus retrograde is all about. It's releasing these negative patterns because it's going to count more now because Venus is going direct next week. Now, fair enough, it's going to be in its post-shadow period. That's why October is more significant. Once we get to the start of October, that's when we really start to see everything moving. But people can fall prey at this time. They can trip up, they can give up because everything, like I say, is in retrograde. So if you're not aware of that, you can just keep falling backwards, become unbalanced, and fall down the cracks that are all emerging now because everything's changing, rather than staying centered, staying grounded, being in the heart, and trusting to move forward with this new emergence, i.e. Venus going direct next week. Like I say, the escapism aspect, which is also easy to do, when you feel like you want to give up, is going to be tested because Saturn's there, and Saturn is the teacher, Saturn is the authority. So this full moon is a wake-up call, really, if we're still in escapism, and that happens on the 31st. Like I say, standstill. Whoops. Can you still hear me? Yeah, it's at a standstill right now. So obviously, everything is retrograde, right? It's a very strange time. Only the personal planets are moving forward. The personal planets is Mars. Mars is now in Libra. It went in Libra yesterday. That is about justice, fairness, diplomacy. So again, if you want to look at it like God is good or the good will win in the end, patience is a virtue. Staying clear about your boundaries, being fair, You know, like for example, the male and the female, the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Everyone needs to know their place, be able to communicate. That's what this Venus retrograde again has been about. If there's disappointment, if there's hurt, if there's anger, if there's rage, then again, all of that stuff hopefully has been out. And we're in a situation where we can finally move forward, i.e. diplomacy, you know, finally move forward in a way that is fair. You know, that's how we need to do it, you know. We need to forgive, we can't forget, but we can manage our differences. But if things need to end, then they need to end. So for example, like if you're in a job that's just too much and it's killing you, then it's time for an exit strategy. Same with a dysfunctional relationship. Even at work, if things haven't gone according to plan and you need to reassess, now is the time when Venus is going forward. And likewise, which is on the 3rd of September. But everything is in review. Like I said, Jupiter retrograde, which is coming on the 4th, is it? The 4th of September. So this is all building towards April, when Jupiter goes direct, and Uranus goes direct. That's when we're going to see the abundance come to us, okay? And likewise, when we get to a situation with now the personal planets, our intellect is Mercury. In October, it'll be direct, out of the shadow period. Venus is the heart, following our heart. That's what we've got to trust next week as we move forward. In October, it'll become clearer who's in, who's out. But ultimately, Mars is direct. It's the main planet that is direct. So diplomacy, fairness. And with that, be your way to show the way. Peace.